we will not enjoy what is happening, what our life in that moment, because we will just be thinking, okay, this is the goal, this is the goal, this is the goal, this is the goal, and I'm not enjoying the sales conversation that I'm having, what I'm learning from my client, what the client is telling me could make me think of something else that I could add to the service or the product that I'm trying to sell them.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Campfire Capitalism. And I'm stoked to be here today because today is episode 50 and we have a special guest, Mr. Davide, and he holds a MSc in physics and MBA from London Business School, is in a coaching practitioner diploma from the Academy of Executive Coaching of London. For 20 years, this guy enjoyed an international career in a variety of manufacturing and infrastructure industries until he decided he reached the zenith of that journey and could use his leadership and people skills in a more fulfilling, impactful way. That's when he became a coach and a teacher of personal growth programs and later a co-founder of Wise Humanity. Man, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Desmond. Thank you.
Oh man, I can remember we first talked and I was like, man, this guy is super interesting. Like your journey is just like really fascinating. I could very vibe with it because I have a, chemical engineering degree myself. And, people are like, well, how did you end up doing what you're doing when you started there? Because it's really hard, to kind of, I wouldn't say hard, but, that shift is a lot different. It's very contrarian. So like, before we hop into a little bit about some value that you can provide to the audience, just kind of give us an idea of who the heck, how the heck did you get to where you are now and a little bit about your journey?
If you look at it from outside, I can see that it looks like a journey with many turnings and like big turnings. Mm-hmm. But for me, it really happened step by step. And so I'm a physicist. I started working as an engineer in engineering companies. My English, well, I'm Italian originally. I was working in Italian companies, but like with global. So my English was very good, and they started sending me everywhere in the world. So I was enjoying a really nice international career. Started leading teams very soon, very young in my career. Took an MBA here in London, where I live, and on my journey, I took a very profound and transformative personal growth course myself. And a couple of years later, one day I woke up and I realized, oh, wow, I'm using all the tools that I learned back then. And they've made my life a lot nicer, easier. Relationships are healthier. There's less drama. I find it easier to take decisions. I spend less time, hang up with the thoughts in my head. And I have a clear idea of my purpose, how I impact people, how to treat people. And that made me think, oh, this is really interesting. And that has made a bigger impact on myself than some of my career decisions or some of my career successes. So I started looking more at the humane side of things. And I took a coaching diploma on the side while I was still going up my corporate career ladder. And then one day there was a massive restructuring of the company where I was working for. They decided to close my business unit completely, not for my fault, for a big contract that they had gained before, and there was draining money from the company. They gave me a good payout, and I had this choice in front of me. I can find another job in a similar industry, a corporate role, or I can start something that I feel more aligned with now. And I thought, well, I think I can make a better impact in this world, helping people, sharing the tools that made such a big impact in my life, sharing these tools with them, rather than leading a division in a big corporation. And then I started working with the professor that taught me that personal growth course that I took years ago. I started working with him for like 4 years, and then he kind of decided to stop teaching, and with another colleague from there, we created Wise Humanity. So under the brand Wise Humanity, we've been operating for over 2 years, as we created it just before COVID. And but doing what I do, like coaching, but even more than that, teaching personal growth programs for individuals and for companies. I've been doing that for like 6 years now. And for me, everything has happened like a step by step. But yeah, if I look at it from outside, it looks like a number of changes. I took physics because I wanted. I was young and full of dreams. I wanted to win a Nobel Prize. That was the reason I took physics. So then if you think of, I abandoned that dream, but I'm building a different dream now.
A whole different type of prize, right? So, okay, I got a couple questions for you. I guess the first one that I'm really keen, like I'm really trying to like wrap my head around is what, like, okay, there's two things I want to unpack. The first one is, are they like, talk to me about like the physics, like, is there any from a mental modeling, like talk to me about like, how did the physics side of like your brain and like that experience help you with in terms of like putting things together in personal development? Like, do you actually use, or are there any like intersections in those two different worlds? And then the second question I have for you as a follow-up, I love follow-ups, man, back to back, is talk to me about your entrepreneurial journey and to go from like being this guy, the guy at this, this international corporation to like building a company, building a business, having a business partner, having mentorship. And like, I'm super interested to kind of hear like what went on with your entrepreneur journey as well. So if you can address those two, man, I'll be sick.
Physics. There's a lot of, I wouldn't say overlap, because if I talk of overlap, it looks like they're two different things. While I don't see it that way. I use a lot, physics feeds into what I do completely, like many other things. There are more, because one thinks of coaching, you have the coaching qualifications, you have some Eastern philosophy courses that I did. I went trips to India, etc. But there's also a lot of science. There's neuroscience, there's physics. They all feed into the pool of knowledge that my co-founder and I use at Wise Humanity. I'll mention a few examples. Time, the concept of time, both in spirituality and in physics, is very different to the concept of time that we normally experience, like the flow of time. We get stuck in the past for things that we can't let go of. We have the anxieties about the future for things that haven't happened yet. And in both in Eastern philosophies, in spirituality, and in physics, time is a completely different thing. It's something that doesn't even flow. So the only thing that really exists is this moment. And I'm sure you've heard it a lot from people that like me as well, that promote meditation, promote mindfulness, but you also hear it from physicists. And that the only time that exists is really now. And what we do normally is we actually over-empower what we call the past and the future. And by doing so, we actually take away power from this moment, which in reality is the only moment where we can do something. So that's an example of how physics is part of our teaching.
Man, we could probably have an entire episode on time. Like, especially in our early episodes, we talked a lot about time. And as you grow as an entrepreneur, your relationship with time drastically changes. Like, that's probably the biggest shift. That, and obviously like leadership, because like obviously when you're building a company and You got to make sure you can recruit the right people, can you lead the right people? Obviously, that's a very important skill. Sales, marketing will always be a fundamental skill, because if you don't have those two things, you don't have a business. But I think the relationship and time, like internally, like your relationship is super key, because I think you just hit the nail on the head, like being present. You can be so caught up on deadlines, like what do I have in the future? What do I want in the future? Or anxiety about like, oh, the story I have about the past, and obsessing over, let's say, failures and wins, right? By getting complacent, like I'm winning, right? Because I got this and I got this in the past, and not being like present and in the moment. And as an entrepreneur, I can remember some of my favorite moments ever, even to this day, have been the most blissful, is when I'm sitting down, let's say in a cafe, and I'm just like present, like just drinking a coffee, right? Being thankful for the moment, being grateful for the moment. So I'm pretty interested. Let's unpack this a little bit further. You could talk about your entrepreneurial journey. So let's talk about when you think of time, when you're working with, let's say, these corporations, what's some of the philosophy and maybe some, some value that you can give us that can like help us be more present with time and value our time a little bit more, man.
So, in life, we go through some challenges. We have things that we label problems, things that we need to find a solution of. But I like to make a distinction between a problematic situation and a problem. Like, I need to sell. I need to get my targets. I need to come up with a new strategy. I need to do a market study. These are all things that I need to do. Okay. Or I'm jobless. I need to find a job. That's the thing I need to do. Now, I can do all these things and be mindful and present and work on them and treat them like situation that I'm dealing with, or I can treat them as problems. And if I treat them as problems, my emotional state, my energy will be completely affected. My efficiency will be completely affected by it. My creativity. I can't be creative if I'm living in a world of problems. Because if I live in a world of problems, I live in a world where I need to survive, and I can't survive when there's a lion that is chasing me. I can't create when there's a lion that is chasing me. So, and the point of time is that problems need a future or a past to exist. If I narrow if I narrow time to this very moment, there are things that I do. There are things in my life. My life is still very diverse, and there's aspects of it that I need to handle, etc. But there's no problems. The problems only come from living in the past. Like, oh no, I can't sell because I'm not a good salesperson. Okay, that's the past that is stopping me. Is creating a hurdle that because I've never done something in the past, it doesn't mean that I'm not good at it, or that I can't learn, or that I can't. I don't remember. I think it was Henry Ford that said, "Whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right." And this is what happens when we're hung up in the past. We say, oh no, if I think I can do something or I can't do something, if I think I can't do something, or something in the past that I'm thinking, okay, this is blocking me, my experience, or something that happened to me in the past is blocking me from expanding. And the same thing for the future. If I'm jobless, I'm looking for a new job, but going through it with the anxiety will not help me find a job, will not help me live this moment to the best of my resources, and also to this moment is never coming back. So we should cherish it fully, even when things are not going the way we would like. So being mindful, being present is not only because, yes, when we're 100% present on a task, we're more efficient. It's not only because of that, which is important, but it's also because when we're present, then we reduce the voice in our head to a minimum. We reduce our anxieties to a minimum, our fears to a minimum, our feeling of guilt or shame for something that we don't have or that we did in the past to a minimum. All these other great benefits come when we are mindful.
That landed. Man, that made me even think about it in like when we're doing, in sales, when you're dealing with a client, some of the common objections are anchored in what if scenarios. Like, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if I don't get this? What if? And that's like anxiety because you're future pacing. Like you said, you're not living in the present to make a decision of like, okay, does this solve my problem right now? And does it fundamentally get me closer in the desired direction that I want to get on? And you know what I mean? Like it's the what if scenario. So it's pretty interesting, man.
But let me say one thing about that, because it's important that I'm not undervaluing the importance of planning. Planning is important. And having goals is important. They give you direction and then you can move. But what we shouldn't do is just to then put all our emotional energy, our postpone our happiness into the goal that we're trying to achieve. And because then we are not living in the present, we are not present. So to whatever happens, we'll be hung up to the plan and not be able to understand what is really happening, if we need to change something, if we need to adapt our plan. And we will not enjoy it. We will not enjoy what is happening, what our life in that moment, because we will just be thinking, okay, this is the goal, this is the goal, this is the goal, this is the goal. And I'm not enjoying the sales conversation that I'm having, what I'm learning from my client, what the client is telling me could make me think of something else that I could add to the service or the product that I'm trying to sell them. And then it's all in the present.
Yeah, I get it. Okay, got it. So talk to me a little bit about, some of like how, some of your own techniques and your methodologies helped you in your entrepreneurial journey. Like how, like, can you, tell us some stories or talk a little bit about your, a little bit about specifically your business journey?
Okay, my business journey. So we're still a small company. There's basically 4 people. 2 of us, the co-founders, we create the content, we teach, we create the programs, we do a lot of the sales. And then we have a 2-person that are helping us with admin, sales and marketing and promotion and the website, etc. It's a very different experience to being in a big corporation, because not only did I work for corporations, they were massive. So it's a very, very different experience. The good thing was that even when I was working for companies, I definitely wasn't the person that would mind the clock. Sometimes, I would work extra hours, but sometimes I would also work less hours as long as I was doing what I had to do. And I always felt that flexibility that was more focused on what I need to do, what needs to be done, rather than 9 to 5 or things like that. The thing that I had to learn, and I'm still learning, is that, of course, as entrepreneurs, we need to be able to do a bit of everything. And so I'm sure I'm not saying anything new, but it's still a challenge sometimes. And there are things that I enjoy a lot, like talking to people about what I do. I love it. Like conversations like this with you, or also sales conversations. And there's things that I like to do less, like spreadsheets. But they're important. They're important. And when you do it right, they actually help you a lot. But there's a lot of the things, of the tools that I teach that come to help. Like a very important one is the tool of gratitude. Having a practice of an active daily practice of gratitude in your life. There are studies also that show that we're not grateful for something because we're happy. It's actually the other way around. We are happy with life. We're happy with what is happening. That's because we feel gratitude. And so the gratitude actually ignites happiness. And many times we postpone our happiness until we've achieved something that we wanted to, and that's a way to live life again. You're not in the present. You're always postponing your happiness, and then when you get to actually achieving something, then their happiness lasts a second, and then you're already onto something else. Having an active practice of gratitude, daily practice of gratitude, changes your life a lot, because it creates a permanent, continuous emotional tenor that is happy. And when I use the word happy, but I could use the fulfilled. I could use complete, a realized human being. And so the practice of gratitude is something really, really important, and maybe not as famous as meditation. Everybody has at least heard of meditation or mindfulness and the power of it. But gratitude is also very powerful.
Man, that what's so funny is, I used to be really deep into the wellness space. Like, I had a wellness startup company before the pandemic. And, I was really big on meditation and journaling and doing gratitude and running and eating anti-inflammatory and getting massages and biohacking and all these different things. And, as life happened and transitions and all types of up and downs, the one thing that's been steady, even though I used to run a lot and all this, the one thing that's been steady has been that gratitude thing. And, what I've learned in terms of gratitude has been, the more specific you are, the better. And it doesn't have to be about, I'm grateful for business, I'm grateful for sales. It's like, I'm just grateful for my girlfriend sending me a text message last night. That really made my day. Like, just being in flow state of it. I mean, that's really helped me stay sane, personally. So, hey, audience, that you want to take that hack, you can take it. It's something that's been consistent. It's just something so small that I do every single day. So I definitely agree with the gratitude part, because it keeps you sane. In my opinion.
Totally. And the important thing is that it has to be sincere. It has to be genuine, because, and this is a challenge. It's not like that we're not genuine ourselves when we think, I should be grateful because I have a job, because I have an apartment, or because I have a partner, or because I'm healthy. There's lots of things that I can, I know I should be grateful for. Now, feeling gratitude is a slightly different thing. So, like, igniting that real feeling, emotion that is not only appreciation, but it's profound gratitude. That is the one thing that, even in our courses, for example, we do exercises so that we manage to unblock any possible walls or blocks that we may have, stopping us from being overwhelmed by the feeling of gratitude.
Man, yeah.
Another thing that comes very useful now that I'm talking to you is this. Can you read it?
Good thing, bad thing, who knows?
Exactly. So there's a Sufi tale about it. I'm not going to tell it now, but because it's long. But the main point is, how many times in your life has something happened that on the moment you labeled as negative, but then later it triggered a chain of events that actually took you to a much nicer place than where you started from? A typical example is losing your job, and of course, it's a tragedy, it's a disaster. But then the new job that you find or that you create is a lot better, or being left by your partner, or losing a client, and so how many? But when we look back, and again, this is an exercise that we do. When we look back, we can find many of these moments that in the moment we felt like overwhelmed by the difficulty of it and the badness of those situations, but then they triggered other events, and then we ended up being in a much better place. So with my business partner, whenever we have something that doesn't go to plan, of course, we handle it. And of course, we decide, okay, what do we do from here? But we don't get hung up in, oh, this shouldn't have happened, or this, like blaming us, feeling guilty for something we haven't done, or blaming ourselves, or blaming someone else, and being stuck in the, oh, this shouldn't have happened, oh, it's not right, it's not fair, oh, we worked so hard and we didn't get that client. Learn what you have to learn and move on, because you never know. Good thing, bad thing, who knows?
Got it. Yeah, good thing, bad thing, who knows? I love that. So another thing I wanted to ask you about is, being an entrepreneur, we have to work with people. And sometimes those people can be difficult, right? Maybe we have some difficult people in our personal life. Maybe we have them in our professional life. But this is just something that's always going to be around from all stages of our life, and how we deal with people is super important. So I'm really curious to kind of get your take, understand your philosophy and methodology around dealing with difficult people.
There's a fundamental attitude which is recognizing that everybody, let's see how you react to this. Recognizing that everybody at any point in time is doing the best they can do with the tools they have, the education they have, the past experience that they have, everything that happened in their lives, good and bad. With what they have, everybody's always doing their best. That includes you, includes me, includes everyone. Also, very annoying people. And it may not be what you would like them to be doing in that moment. It may be something that annoys you a lot. It may be something that puts you in a difficult position. It may be something that damages you in some shape or form. But with the tools that they have, with the knowledge that they have, the experience that they have, they're doing the best thing they can do in that moment. If they could do something better in that moment, they would. That is by definition, that is the best they can do. It's also the same when you take a decision, when I make a decision, and then it turns out that, in retrospective, it sounds like a mistake. Well, in that moment, that felt the best thing that I could have done. So when we have difficult people around us, one thing is to always remember that they're doing the best they can do. I really don't know where they're coming from in their life, what point of the journey they are. They're doing the best they can do. It doesn't mean that I need to ignore it. It doesn't mean that I need to act on it. It doesn't mean that everybody needs to be my partner or a business partner or life partner. No, absolutely. I may also want to say, if this is the best you can do, I want to keep you out of my life. But there's a different empathetic approach if I talk to someone knowing that they're doing the best they can do in that moment. And the other super important thing is that everything they say, everything, whatever way they act, whatever anything they do is an expression, is an expression of the tools that they have. I may be triggering something, a reaction, but the reaction is based on the mechanisms of their mind and their heart, on the tools that they have. So that is also a very, very, very important thing. If someone attacks me, for example, for whatever reason, or is aggressive, verbally aggressive, it's an expression of the tools that they have. It's an expression of all the beliefs they have, the habits that they have, and so I should still handle it, but I shouldn't be taking it personally. And the moment I don't take it personally, my range of choices and reaction is a lot wider. It's a lot wider, and also more empathetic as well, and respectful. Even if this person is kind of treating me in a way that I don't think is fair or respectful or nice, I can still react from a place of human respect. I can make funny jokes about this as well. I'm talking about my mother if you want.
Bring moms in.
Who has been a very difficult person in my life for a lot, until I decided that she was doing the best she could, and she was loving me the way that she could love me, and then our relationship changed completely, and it's amazing today. She's still like, you know, I don't know. She sees me and says, "Oh, have you put on weight?" And I say, "Oh, do you see me fat?" No, I just see you bald. This is my mother. Or I don't know, she comes and visit me here, and you know, like at 4 p.m. We're drinking some prosecco to welcome my parents home, and the glasses aren't clean, or the flat is not clean, or the cats are shedding too much hair, and it's all like this. Or you're always eating unhealthy food, you're drinking too much, and there comes a time when you say, okay, trying to change her or fight her is not the right way to keep a relationship with her, to keep a functional and lovely relationship with her. So she hasn't changed. I made a journey inside myself, and I went from fighting that or taking it personal, which I was, to that humor, that fighting, that always knowing what is better, what is best, always knowing better than me, is her way to show love, and I can see that, and I love her deeply, and we have a much better relationship today than we did in the past.
Yeah, oh man, it's like the nitpicking, right? Like the triggering behavior, right? Like it's like you're being triggered by, you know, someone else. Then you realize, like, okay, like they are the best version of themselves at this very moment.
Yes, and it's also true for us. Of course, we can always improve. I mean, unless the day we can't improve anymore is the day we die. But we can always improve, but that doesn't mean that we're not doing the best we can today. So tomorrow I'll have a 24-hour experience more, and I'll take different decisions. I will learn something more, and I might behave differently in a similar situation. But today, this is what felt right in this moment.
Love that. I love that. This is so good. So, okay, let's go here now. So we talked about a little bit about gratitude. We obviously hit on like how to deal with difficult people. Talk to us a little bit about, and we talked a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey, right? Like sometimes we gotta do the things we hate doing. I mean, that's just part of the game here. And you went from a physicist to a spiritual entrepreneur. So like, talk to me about like, what's the vision of Wise Humanity, right? So like, where's this ship going? And like, what is it that you want to create? Like, what's the vision a little bit? What's the mission?
So, when you're young, they teach you how to put a Band-Aid on a scar, for example. And then they teach you how to take care of your teeth, right? So you don't necessarily need to go to the dentist. Nobody teaches us how to handle our emotions. Nobody actually, what they teach us generally, it's changing now, fortunately, but what they generally teach us is to ignore them, to block them, to control them, that emotions get in the way. They definitely don't teach us how to embrace and learn from them, allow them and learn from them. So we don't know really where we have marketing and advertisement to tell us what will make us happy. We have Hollywood movies to tell us how I should look for a partner, a romantic partner. What do I do with my sense of guilt? How do I handle it? What do I do with or shame for things about me? How can I profoundly love myself, even if there are areas where I want to improve? Accept myself. How can I respect other people's opinions? No,
that's a huge one.
And nobody teaches us that. How do I ignite purpose? No, again, you need to find a better job. There will always be a better job. So how do I unlock the purpose inside myself? How do I learn from fears? We have fears about anything. And again, the typical reaction is avoid it or find data. But finding data does not, we can't control everything. And we can't find infinite data. So it doesn't really help us deal with fear. And the next time we're in a similar situation, we will have fear again. So what does fear really mean? What does it tell me about my self-limiting beliefs? How can I learn from fear? How can I allow it and learn from it? My ego, again, when does having too much passion get in the way actually of the dreams that I'm trying to realize? Because it does. If my ego becomes too big, then I'm actually not doing a good service to the dreams that I believe in. And so how do I handle that? So all these things. So the vision of Advice Humanity is making these tools and these teachings available, vastly available, and that will actually make us become better human beings, as much as learning how to keep our teeth clean and learning how to cure our wounds and our body, our physical wounds. Helped us live longer and happier. Also, learning how to handle and understand and live, not suppress our emotions, will help us be better humans and will bring us together. So this is the vision of Advice Humanity.
I love it, man. I love it.
And we do an amazing work in companies as well. Because again, it may sound like only something for individuals at a certain stage of their life, but no, we're doing amazing work with companies, and the impact that we create, the feedback that we receive is unbelievable. Like imagine a team where people actually feel part of a team, where people don't let their ego get in the way of conversations. Now, as egos are one of the biggest problems in the proper functioning of an organization, because if I go into a meeting with a big ego, the objective for me, my hidden objective of the meeting will be to satisfy my ego. It will not be to take the best decision for the company. So there's millions and trillions of pounds wasted because of egos, because of fears, because we don't know if we should make a decision or not. And again, so imagine bringing all these tools into a company. Companies that believe in this really see a massive impact and improvement in the quality of the workplace and in the effectiveness.
The ego in the workplace is so real. So talk to me about company culture, right? So talk to me about some experiences you had in terms of bringing some of these companies through, maybe some of your services. I'm guessing you maybe do a workshop model or a retreat model, something probably in person, or do you guys also do virtual? Talk to me about your mechanism of how you work with these companies, and then talk to me about some of the benefits that it helps with company culture or productivity or happiness. Talk to me a little bit about that.
So we have, well, look, we do different things, and for bigger or smaller audiences, etc. But the most impactful is what we call it leadership bootcamp, and it's actually a series of like short workshops, like 2-hour workshops, typically like 6 or 7, something like that, where we go through a journey. The impact of it, if you're looking at personal development, personal growth, if there's nothing you can deliver with one workshop. I can watch a TED talk, I can read a self-help book, and it will, which is nice. It inspires me intellectually, but there's not enough time for the concepts to turn into tools that you actually use in your daily life, which is where the real change comes from. So we do little journeys, and every session is on different topics. So normally the very first one is always, what do I do with the voice in my head? Where does it come from? How can I deal with it? And then other topics, also depending on what challenges the companies are facing. But the important bit is, in between the sessions, we have time. During that time, there's always practice. Now, this is also where my physics background comes in again. For me and for my co-founder as well, every concept that we talk about, every tool must have an application, must have a way to turn it into a habit or a different way that I do things. So, and in that time in between our sessions, that's what we do. We allow people and we guide people into practicing whatever tool or conversations we had on the previous workshop, to apply it in their real life, and for 1 week or 2 weeks, whatever. And that application is, that practice is really where the real change, long-lasting change comes from. So this is what we do. It's not one workshop. It's not a retreat. It's actually a journey. And what happens is that, again, and so there's 2 benefits for the teams that participate in our leadership bootcamps. One is that they go through this journey together. So one of the feedback that we received is that it felt like going on a trip. Now, when you go on a trip with your mates, you share experiences and you build something new together, and that creates a bonding. And so typically something that happens at the end of our leadership bootcamps is that there's a lot more trust in the teams. And it's easier for them to have difficult conversations. Again, that's another thing that has a massive negative impact on efficiency and productivity in an organization, that people don't have difficult conversations. They don't want to challenge each other. They don't know how to challenge each other in a healthy, respectful way. So that is one big benefit. Another one is in the way decisions are made, and that are based more on values than egos. Another one is just your creativity, again, because if we're able to create a safer environment where people also realize that some of the obstacles that we are creating themselves. And so I'm able to accept myself, know myself and accept myself better. And I'm able to accept everyone else in my company better and respect better. That is an environment that allows me to be more genuine, more vulnerable, more myself, which also means more creative. And so people have more ideas and purpose. That's another big point. People feel part of a team, feel part of a community at work with a shared purpose, and purpose becomes really the drive. This common purpose becomes the drive of my actions, not my ego, not my personal return, and this is so. energizing.
Man, this is sick. So how can people find you, man? And if you're driving right now, keep driving. It's going to be in the show notes. So, what's the best way for people to find you?
Our website also has a link to contact to get in touch with us. That's probably the easier. The website is relatively easy to remember. It's www.wisehumanity, all one word, wisehumanity.org. And if you can remember wisehumanity.org, then you can find us. Well, I can give you my email or whatever. We also write blogs like every other week, and they're there. They're posted on the website. They're really, really useful tools. They're like small tools to apply profound concepts of personal growth into your everyday life. So have a look at them as well.
Boom. So guys, make sure you go check that out. Once again, we are so grateful to have you here, and thank you for your time.
Thank you for listening. Thank you, Desmond, for having me.
Sick. So guys, thanks again for your most precious resource, which is your time. Hopefully you got a ton of great information here. Don't forget to go check out those links in the show notes, and we'll see you at the next campfire. Bye.